Hi, my name is Bob, and I'm a sinner. I have broken every one of God's commandments by thought, word, or deed, and I need a Savior. And by the grace of God, I have a Savior in Jesus Christ. But nevertheless, I'm a lonely person many times. And during this pandemic, we know what it is to be lonely. Here's a little girl who has never seen her grandma and grandpa for a year. She's lonely. Loneliness comes from broken relationships. People have been lonely because they've had to be separated from their friends, their family, their older elders, and the like. Have you ever thought about God being lonely? Because religion is really relationships. And that's what this book is all about the God of relationships. And way back when I was a seminary intern, a high school student recited a drama from an old black preacher. And it talks about God being lonely without us. I can't do it perfectly, but I'm going to try. God stepped out into space and he said, I'm lonely. For as far as the eye of God could see, there was darkness, blacker than a hunk of midnight down in the cypress swamp. And then God smiled, and the light broke, and the darkness rolled up on one side, and the light stood shining on the other, and God said, that's good. Then God reached out, and he gathered the light into a shining ball, and he set that ball ablazing in the heavens. And the light that was left over, he flung it against the darkness, spangling the night with his moon and his little stars. And then God said, that's good. And down between the darkness and the light, God hurled the world like a yo-yo. Then God himself stepped down. The sun was on his right hand, the moon was on his left. The stars were around his head. And where he walked, his footsteps hollowed the valleys out and bulged the mountains up. And God said, that's good. Then God looked around, and he saw that the earth was hot and barren. So he stepped over to the edge of the earth and he spit out the seven seas. He blinked his eyes and the lightning flashed. He clapped his hands and the thunder roared. And the cool, refreshing rain came down. The green grass sprouted. The flowers blossomed. The pine tree lifted its leafy finger in the sky, and the oak spread out its arms. The rivers ran down to the sea, and the ponds developed within his footsteps. And God said, that's good. Then God raised his hand and he waved it. Bring forth, bring forth. And quicker than he could drop his hands, fish swam in the rivers down to the sea. The deer and the antelope roamed the forest and woods, and the birds split the air with their wings. And God said, yeah, that's good. And then God looked around. He looked at all that he had made, of his sun and his moon and these little stars, and the earth with all its living creatures. And God said, I'm lonely still. So God sat down. By a deep, wide river, he sat him down with his head in his hands. This God, great Almighty, who created the heavens and the earth, sat him down thinking until he thought, I'll make me a man. And he knelt down in the clay and he worked it and gathered it and shaped it like a mammy working over her baby until he had shaped it into his own image. And then he breathed into it the breath of life and set us out upon the earth to have relationships and not be lonely. I love that story. But what color of skin did God make Adam and Eve in the garden? In our children's storybooks, Adam and Eve are in white skin. And you'll notice the devil is in black. And our daughter married a black man, and we have black grandchildren and black great-grandchildren. And our granddaughter came home from kindergarten crying, I wish I were white. Everybody's picking on me. And so I think we need to do some work within our Sunday schools and children's books. So Dolores and I, we made a composite. Where were the first Adams and Eve created? Science tells us in Africa, Ethiopia. It's the oldest schedule we've got, skeleton. So we made Adam and Eve black and the devil white. What does that make you feel like? Any different feelings? My point is, God has created all of us. We're all human regardless of our skin. He has made us each in his image. We are a relationship with one another. We have so much more in common than we have that separates us. So let us be together and grow fresh here in our Northern Great Lakes Synod and in all of America to be people of relationship. And then we can sing. Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-ay, my, oh my, what a wonderful day. Jesus is risen, he's here today. He sends the Spirit to show us God's way. Rock, 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 yeah!